Identity, the quest for Israel's future. Emmanuel Shachaf, hello to you.
Hello, hello.
Let's talk a bit about the kidnapped people that are being hostage. And do you think that they are going to be released?
I hope so. I certainly hope so. I think the chances are they will be released. I think it will be very difficult because as long as the IDF is operating in Gaza, it's a dangerous situation for the hostages. A dangerous it's a threat for them, and the IDF has to really calculate whether it wants to continue going in while the hostages are not released yet.
Because a few hostages were murdered near the Shifa hospital within Gaza.
Within Gaza, while there was pressure from the IDF on the area. So that's a big consideration. I think all the information available indicates that it's possible to resolve the issue, but
how
we don't.
What is the sweet deal, if we can call it a sweet,
I think
something that can be offered by Israel?
The best deal would be an exchange of all for all on both sides. All hostages will be released for all the prisoners and detainees, which is a considerable number. But not only hostage release, but other things should be included,
for instance,
which paint some kind of future for Gaza, for the Gaza Strip, because it should be clear for everybody, not only for Gaza, not only for Hamas, but also for Israel and us, that the situation that was before will not return. Okay, so we won't have a situation where we exchange all the prisoners and the hostages, and then we're back to the same situation we were before, which is the basis for taking hostages. So we don't want to be there. So it means that part of the deal should be some kind of future for Gaza, which gives hope.
You're saying giving hope, and do you reflect rebuilding some of the city of Gaza? Because Israel says after we demolish Hamas, then someone else, international ones, should take care of all the Palestinian refugees that are going to be in the winter in their tents.
I think we would be making a big mistake if we would try to dump this problem, the Gaza problem, on the international community.
They are responsible, wouldn't they?
No, they're not responsible. Israel, first of all, we've been the occupier of Gaza several times around, and even now we again occupied Gaza. We had it occupied before. Even though we left Gaza, or the troops left Gaza, we controlled it until, definitely until October 7th.
Control how?
Because we were controlling 5 out of 6 border passages on the ground. We were controlling the access from the air and from the sea. We were controlling the population registry. We were supplying water, electricity, and fuel. So we controlled Gaza. Okay, it's as simple as that. The fact that we didn't have troops in Gaza itself doesn't mean we didn't control Gaza. And now we're actually in Gaza and we're occupying Gaza, so we're the occupation force, and as the occupiers of Gaza, we have a legal responsibility for the population of Gaza, and we should we should exercise that responsibility to the fullest. Which I think, in my point of view, since we're not going to leave Gaza, we will be there to maintain security, we have to make sure that the population there lives in reasonable conditions, and that cannot be only in tents.
What do you mean by saying that Israel is responsible under the international law?
Yes. We're the occupying force, and we're responsible for the population there. I don't know to what extent that responsibility includes rebuilding. Okay, definitely we may not have to fund it, but we have to enable it. So we have to be part of it, and the more we're part of it, the more we change the situation for the future. Because the more we become part of it, the more the enmity between the two people will decline. And the more people will realize that there's a future, because we're not going to leave the Middle East, and the Gazans aren't going to leave. We're going to stay neighbors. So we have to improve the neighborhood jointly.
You know, President Biden, also the European, are talking permanently about two-state solution. That should be the next phase.
Yes.
To put it again on the table. Do you think it's feasible?
The two-state solution is not feasible. Definitely not in the near future. If the two-state solution refers to the West Bank as a Palestinian state together with Gaza and Israel as another state, that's not in the cards.
What is?
What is in the cards? What is in the cards would be some kind of federative agreement, arrangement, not agreement. It doesn't have to be under agreement. Regional autonomies with the Palestinians in their regional autonomy in the West Bank and Israel in the regional autonomy in the land in
Gaza.
Not in Gaza. Gaza as a regional autonomy in Gaza, and Israel regional autonomies within Israel. So that's a federal, some kind of federal arrangement. Since there's no immediate possibility to implement something like that, this has to be a drawn-out process, which isn't a bad idea, to get people to get used to some kind of arrangement like that. But it requires a strong Israeli government who sets its mind to it, and international support.
Do you think, basically, and you know a lot about human behavior, trust in between Israeli people and Palestinian peoples that are not part of the military or political Hamas movement, it can be rebuilt?
Yes, trust can be rebuilt. People forget, which is useful, and people think positive. They don't only think negative. If they are given challenges, positive challenges, it's possible. If you look at what happened in Europe after the Second World War, the Treaty of Paris was signed in 6 years, 1951, between France and Germany, 6 years after the end of the Second World War, which was a terrible war. If there aren't any non-terrible wars, but this was pretty bad, and people understood that they have to work together, and we've been through cycles of violence in the Middle East before, and we've come to talk to each other, and we will also this time around, even though this was a very, very bad event.
Do you think what is happening right now, really happening right now in the Gaza Strip, is something that the world understands the details, because everything is being broadcasted by a specific point of view of the Hamas, or the other way around by the IDF?
No, nobody really knows what's going on. Okay, we all get the information chewed by somebody. I'm not even sure that the people in charge in Israel, at least, know exactly what's going on. Everything it's not clear. Literally in Gaza, much of what's going on is underground. So we really don't know what the situation is, and we will know it only by delay. And generally speaking, things happen slower than everybody hopes for and everybody expects. So this war is going to continue for weeks to go.
As a former intelligence person serving in the Israeli Mossad, for many years you've been broadcasting the truth and your understanding in advance about what is going to be happening in Gaza, within the Palestinians, with the Arab Israelis. It's part of your book, Identity, the Quest for Israel's Future. Yet, a few days ago, it's being written in Haaretz newspaper that one of the chiefs of the Israeli IDF intelligence wrote 2 letters to the Israeli Prime Minister warning a perfect storm is about to happen. Nothing really happened after these letters.
It's a human trait to ignore warnings. It happens again and again. It happened to Israel in in Yom Kippur War in 1973. It happened again to Israel now in 7th October. It has happened in other countries. It's a human trait to ignore inconvenient truth. Okay, if it doesn't fit, you ignore it. You deny it. You think this is not. People don't see it, and you pay a price.
So the Israeli government and the prime minister ignored it.
The Israeli government ignored it. What is worse, that the army itself apparently didn't take note of it. Okay?
Because they were sleeping.
They were literally asleep. Because if the army warned of it, the army should have at least prepared itself to a higher degree than it did, and that's again another human trait. People are negligent, and we pay a price, and this time we pay a terrible price.
So please put us another waking clock. What would be the main message that you would like today, at the midst of November 2023, to reflect to your viewers, to reflect to the decision makers in Israel, in the Palestinian world, in Europe, in the United States? What is the main message of you, Emmanuel Shachaf, today?
I think the main message is, and it should be, that there are no forceful solutions, that the only way we can work this out is through an agreement, like the Europeans worked out their differences through an agreement, and we have to work out our differences with the Palestinians through an agreement. It's possible to do that. That no matter how much force we build, and how much technology we use, and no matter how smart we are and how high-tech, none of this will protect us from human fallibility, from the errors we make as human beings. The only thing which will give us long-term peace will be long-term peace agreements, and nothing else.
So this is part of the startup nation, understanding that there is no better startup than creating arrangements, creating agreement, and creating hope in between the people, even though after the tragedy of this war. Some good news towards the end of this report.
Towards the end of the month, we're going to a trip. I'm together with a Palestinian partner. We're going to Europe to present the federation to a group of former prime ministers and presidents and parliamentarians
that are open to the idea.
That are open to the idea, and hopefully we'll be able to get some funding. So we should be able to advance this proposal at this critical time, because this is as critical a time as ever.
People from Israel, though from Europe or the United States, that want to be part of the community of identity, the quest for Israel future, how can they approach
Facebook, on Facebook, right? Or Emmanuel Shachaf, or Identity, the Quest for Israel's Future, or the Federation Movement. I'm there.
Emmanuel Shachaf, I want to thank you very much.
Thank you.